If I had to pick the single best database in the world, I would pick Postgres. It is free, open source, and 30 years old, which makes it an incredibly battle-tested technology. But the real reason I pick it isn't just stability, it is because it can literally replace half of your tech stack. Today, we are going to go through what features Postgres offers, why it is so powerful, and also talk about the downsides. But before we continue, a quick thanks to today's sponsor. We live in a time where anyone can type a prompt and instantly generate a working app. This is super powerful, but building software that people actually rely on still requires real technical knowledge. That is why today's video is sponsored by Zero to Mastery. It is a platform packed with programming courses and engineering materials. The thing I like most about their courses is that they are project-based. You are building real applications instead of just following tutorials. Whether you are learning databases, back-end development, system design, or leveling up your full stack skills, the focus is on practical experience you can actually use in the real world. They have a community of over 500,000 developers, plus instructors and technical assistants who are there to answer questions when you get stuck. They also run a Discord server with channels for just about everything, from project feedback and career advice to job hunting. If you want to become a better engineer instead of blindly shipping AI-generated code, check out the link in the description and use the code FRIENDS10 to get 10% off your membership. Let's say we are building an online store. We need to create a table for users, a table for products, and a table for orders. Then we connect them together using foreign keys. Any standard SQL database handles this initial setup perfectly fine. But as the store grows and you add more features, that's when things get complicated. Normally, solving each of these problems means adding a completely new system to your architecture. Let's look at the first problem. Our store sells different types of products and they do not share the same properties. A t-shirt has a size and a color, but a laptop has disk capacity, RAM, and other technical specs. If we use standard relational modeling, we end up creating a lot of empty columns for properties that most products do not have. The alternative is creating ugly key value tables that are very slow to query. Instead of doing that, we can store all these custom properties as a single document, right next to the standard columns. Postgres gives us a specific column type called JSONB that stores full JSON documents in a binary format. We just add one attributes column to our products table and put a GIN index on it. The database can now look inside these documents and query specific keys extremely fast. Because the data lives in the exact same table, we can easily join it with our orders or users. We get the flexibility of a document database without having to set up a separate MongoDB cluster. As the store gets more products, customers need a way to search through them. The simple approach is to use a standard SQL statement with the like operator, but this breaks down very quickly. If a user types red running shoes, a simple query looking for the exact word running will never match a product labeled with the word run. To fix this, we need a tool that understands human language. It needs to stem words down to their root forms, rank the results by relevance, and handle multiple different languages. Postgres has this built directly into the engine and it is called pgvector. We generate one special column that analyzes our text and we put an index on it. For most applications, this completely replaces the need to deploy and manage a separate Elasticsearch cluster. Next, when a customer buys shoes, we need to send them a confirmation email. Doing this directly inside the HTTP request forces the user to wait, so in that case, we should use a background job queue. Instead of adding a completely new system to the stack, we just create a plain jobs table right in Postgres. When an order completes, we insert a row into this table. And a separate background worker constantly looks at it for new jobs. But if we have multiple workers, we run into a problem where two of them might grab the exact same job. This case is solved natively by Postgres with a command called select for update skip locked. It locks the row it reads and tells all other workers to completely ignore that locked record. Additionally, to avoid making the workers constantly pull the table and waste CPU cycles, we can use one more built-in feature. Listen and notify allows the engine to ping the workers the exact millisecond a new job appears. This means we don't need to add Redis or RabbitMQ to our stack just to process background tasks. Another thing we want to add to the product page is a new section called You Might Also Like. Modern recommendations run on embeddings, which are lists of numbers generated by a language model. In this mathematical space, vectors that represent similar products sit physically close together. To find related products, the database just calculates the distance between these vectors. Normally, you would need a dedicated vector database for this, but we can install the pgvector extension, and Postgres learns how to store and search these vectors natively. Because the vectors live exactly next to the standard product data, we can combine similarity search with regular business logic in a single query. We can ask for products that are visually similar to the current one, but only if they are currently in stock and cost less than $50. Filtering across two completely separate systems is incredibly painful, but here it is, just one query. Later, the marketing team asks for a customers also bought feature. We need to look at a product, find all the users who bought it, and then look at what else those specific users purchased. Handling deep connections like this is exactly what graph databases are built for. Normally, you would extract your data and push it into a system like Neo4j, but Postgres 19, which is currently in beta, introduces native graph queries. It allows you to run pattern matching directly over the tables you already have. You don't have to migrate your data anywhere or maintain a second system. The standard orders table simply acts as a graph exactly when we need it to. Let's take a step back and look at what we just built. We have document storage, full text search, a background queue, vector recommendations, and graph queries. And if you look at the architecture diagram, it still shows exactly one database. Every system we did not add to our stack is one less thing to deploy, monitor, backup, and keep in sync. And keeping data in sync across systems is where most of the complexity comes from. All of these features sit on top of a fully ACID compliant core. That means atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. In plain English, it means that if a transaction fails halfway through, the database rolls back every change as if the transaction never started. Every feature we talked about, from the job queue to the vectors, is fully backed by these ACID guarantees. The second pillar behind all of this is the extension system. Postgres was specifically designed to accept completely new data types and new ways of indexing data without changing the core engine. That's how an extension like pgvector can add vector search without modifying Postgres itself. It is also why every new database category that gets invented eventually just becomes a Postgres feature. This stable, extensible core is the reason why modern platforms are all built directly on top of it. So, Postgres sounds like a perfect solution, but it has some real physical limits. The first problem is write scaling. Postgres does not have native sharding built in. If you have so much traffic that a single machine cannot handle the writes, spreading that data across multiple machines requires heavy extensions like Citus or a completely different database. The second problem is connections. Whenever a client connects, Postgres forks a completely new operating system process to handle it. This eats a lot of memory. At scale, especially with serverless functions opening thousands of connections, the server quickly runs out of RAM. You have to put a connection pooler like pgbouncer in front of the database to share a smaller pool of real connections. Finally, the way Postgres handles updates leaves behind dead rows on disk. This is a mechanism called MVCC. Because of this, you have to rely on an internal garbage collector called vacuum to clean up the mess. If you don't tune it correctly, your tables can bloat, leading to performance problems. If you operate at a massive scale, a specialized database is still the way to go. But for the vast majority of projects, Postgres is the best option you can pick.